Theater Talk is made possible in part by the CUNY TV Foundation.
Susan, we have one of not only one of our favorite guests here, but also someone I think is a very good friend. He is absolutely terrific in various parts in How to Succeed. Without really trying.
He's Wally Womper.
He's right. Wally Womper.
And Rosemary, which not too many people know.
That's right. You could also see him on the Imus in the Morning program and stand-up comedy. He is the great...
Along with you.
Along with me on the Imus in the Morning program occasionally.
Right.
He is the great, great character actor and comedian Rob Bartlett. Welcome back to
Yeah, now it gets to you.
Wally Womper and Rosemary, there you are.
It's quite a little triumvirate there.
Now, Rob, I'm not sure people know this about you, but you're a very well-known stand-up comedian, but it's acting in Broadway that you really wanted to be in when you were growing up, right?
Yeah, that was the reason why I kind of got into stand-up in the first place. Was I thought that was going to be a shortcut to an acting career. As Humphrey Bogart says in Casablanca about the waters, I was misinformed. Yeah, because I mean, it was when I was a kid, I was always.
You grew up here in New York and many of the Broadway shows.
Brooklyn, Long Island, you know, the traditional borough, suburban upbringing, and you know, from an early age was the drama club geek and the, you know.
Were you a singer and a dancer early on?
It depends on your definition of singer and dancer. If you mean somebody who can't carry a tune and has two left feet, then yes.
But you were wonderful.
I did musicals, you know, in high school. I was Luther Billis in South Pacific and Moonface Martin in Anything Goes, and the running joke with Moonface in Anything Goes was we did the 62 version of it, 1963 version, and whenever there was going to be the big production number, they would find a reason in the script to drag Moonface off the stage. So it was like, the button was like, I think there's something wrong here. Boom, it's production number. So.
But you were always going to play character actor parts. I mean,
oh yeah, I don't think there was any threat of me being a matinee idol. You know, I mean, I don't think I was ever going to be the romantic lead in anything. You know, unless that Marty musical ever happened.
Yeah. Now, was your first Broadway show Little Shop of Horrors?
No, my first Broadway show. Susan, thank you for bringing up the memory. Was something that I wrote.
Oh, right.
Oh, of course.
Called More to Love, a big fat comedy, which ran for 17 previews and 4 performances, which the pull quote for the New York Times was, "Avert your eyes," which is not something that you can exactly hang off a marquee.
Don Imus never lets you live that down. Every time I go on to talk about Broadway, he brings up Rob's big flop, More to Love.
He brings it up every day at work. So I mean, don't forget you're on that flop I invested in. Yeah. So that was the Broadway debut, and then I spent a year licking my wounds from that, during which time I did an off-Broadway production of a play called Tabletop.
That's where we met, and you
were terrific. That's where we met, yeah.
Absolutely terrific.
Which was a terrific experience, and then that led to doing a staged reading of Fade Out, Fade In, that wound up turning into me doing an encores production of Golden Boy.
Right.
That
I saw that. Yeah.
Walter Bobby directed, and the summer after Golden Boy had gone up, Brad Garrett was supposed to step in and play Amos, but he got the Jackie Gleason television biography film, and so he couldn't do it, and so they were kind of stuck, and Walter called me and said, you know, why don't you go down, see the matinee, and after the matinee is over, why don't you go up and sing for Bob Billing, and you know, if you can sing the song.
Because Joel Grey, that non-dancer we had in there before, so we need another non-dancer to follow
That
Joel
was exactly
Grey.
right. You know, because whenever people think of me, they right away think of Joel Grey. Because we're like this. We're really separated at birth. And so that's what I did. And so I was Amos for a while. I was the first real, you know, Broadway aside from my own. And then it was Little Shop, and then it was...
I mean, you're in the Broadway loop now. You know, but let me ask you this interesting, because you said you started out wanting to be on Broadway. Did you make the rounds? Did you go to auditions and you were not getting anywhere, and that's when stand-up comedy?
It all kind of happened simultaneously. I took a year leave of absence from college when I was at Alfred University, and I was ostensibly going to make money to go back because I'd lost my scholarship because I'd kind of flunked out. And just a little minor problem. And during that period, I was working as an elevator operator and a kind of a handyman and one of those lobby guys at 1775 Broadway. And at the same time, I was going to open mics at night doing stand-up. But I was doing open calls. I'd get backstage, and so I think I auditioned for Beatlemania because I used to be in a Beatle tribute band when I was growing up.
And you do a Ringo Starr character.
I do. It's actually because I am a drummer, so I was. But unfortunately, I was too tall to be the drummer, and I can play bass, but I can't play bass and sing, so I couldn't really be Paul. Although I kind of look a lot like Paul. I know people say that all the time, but I was too tall for Ringo. And then I also auditioned for an open call of Grease, Danny Zuko, which I think I got 4 notes out of the audition. It was on stage at the Golden. It was like maybe a half a measure of I'm All Alone at a drive-in movie, and it was like, next! But, and then stand-up kind of took off, and I never wound up going back to college.
And were you, was stand-up something that you wanted to do? You wanted to be a
Kind of. I mean, it was the early 80s. You know, it was late 70s, early 80s, so it was really the big comedy boom at that time. So I was fortunate enough to get in at a time when it was really hot, and especially on Long Island, we kind of made our own rules at the time because we were really the only game in town.
Right.
So I started out with folks like Jackie the Joke Man and Eddie Murphy and and folks like that, and wound up meeting people in the city at Catch a Rising Star and the Comic Strip and the Improv because they would want to come out to Long Island and start getting paying gigs, and that wound up leading to work on the road. And so I was on the road as a stand-up for about 10 years.
Really?
The thing I marvel at with you, you're on Imus in the morning, and then you're doing this very energetic role in How to Succeed. How do you do it?
I nap.
Your nap?
Yeah, you're a nap.
Are we interrupting with your, I mean, will you have a nap today?
I usually nap when I'm driving to and from. As slamming my CRV onto the on-ramp of the Triborough Bridge will attest. I like to take little cat naps. The Rumble Strip wake-up call is one of my favorite things in the world.
So when do you get up in the morning?
I get up at 4.
Yeah, and then you go in and do Imus.
I do Imus, and then sometimes I'll go home and take a nap.
Then where do you live?
Days like today,
you live
Long
in
Island.
town? So you go back to Long Island?
Back to Long Island, or on days like today, I'll stay here, and then I'll go, nap in the dressing room. And then, we'll do the show, and I'll go home and get to bed around midnight, and 12:30 sometimes, and then
up you
get
go.
up and start again.
And you don't have any problems with it?
I'll sleep when I'm dead, Susan.
I've heard that phrase before.
One of the things, though, I think that you are, when I watched you in How to Succeed in Business, you really represent to me kind of another era of performer that we really don't have anymore. I mean, nobody delivers an Abe Burrows line like Rob Bartlett. There's that great moment in the show where you say, try the haddock sandwich early in the week. Do you feel a kinship with those great old Broadway performers like a David Burns and
Stubby K.
Stubby K, all of those guys?
Those are all the kind of guys that I cut my teeth on. Watching the 4:30 movie when I was a kid, when they would run, Little Abner and Guys and Dolls and all those great movie musicals, and went to school on all those guys, and the Marx Brothers and all the traditional comics and comic actors, and so it's kind of ingrained, I guess, because those guys are all timeless. I mean, Gleason especially.
Oh yeah, I know Gleason's a particular favorite of yours.
Oh, I mean, it's just, they call him the Great One for a reason. I mean, I think somebody used the phrase "majesty in motion." I mean, that guy was, sui generis, as we like to say.
Do the young kids that you work with on the Broadway shows, do they know these people? Do they have any interest in the past?
I think some of them do. I mean, we're very blessed at How to Succeed. We have an incredible group of people who are really not your normal vapid group of young Broadway, singers and dancers. They're all really, really intelligent. They're all really, really grounded. Not just as singers and dancers, but as actors. And they know, they know the classics. They know what's good. You can make a reference and they'll get it, which I think is a testament to why the show is so good and why, especially the ensemble, is so good in our show.
Now, you've got Nick Jonas with you in How to Succeed.
Yep.
So is there a huge Nick Jonas following that comes in?
The knickknacks do show up.
The knickknacks.
That's what I call them, the knickknacks. They show up at the stage door, sometimes as early as 7 o'clock in the morning, waiting for him to show up.
Really?
And
Which is
of course,
a lot of fun.
he's followed Daniel Radcliffe.
Yes.
And there was somebody in between who also.
Darren Criss from
Yes,
Glee. Yes. He was
yeah.
only there for about 3 weeks, so it was hard to kind of get.
So when you're dealing with this, you should excuse the expression, Elaine Stritch, icons of youth culture. Is that annoying sometimes?
No, actually it's really kind of great because what it's doing is it's opening the door for a whole new wave of theater goers.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I hear at the stage door, at the barricade, How to Succeed is their first Broadway show.
So when they're
Or
screaming,
their first live theater at all,
when they're screaming during your scene, which they did when I saw it with Daniel Radcliffe, that doesn't distract you. It's
No,
really
and you know what? The screaming is really, it's usually saved for the end. They're terrific audiences. They cheer just as loudly for all of us as they do for Dan or Nick or Darren. I mean, it's really kind of terrific to see,
So those barricades are for Nick Jonas fans? I thought they were for your fans.
My fans, you can kind of rope off in a corner, with a little velvet deal, just kind of, the 3 or 4 70-year-old women who are in my kind of fan base with oh, Selma, remember?
in my plotting of your day, I forgot, when do you get time to write?
See, that's what's great about being Trimble and Whomper, because I'm in like the first part of the first act and the last part of the second act, so I have this hour and 15-minute place in the middle. I've done my research up, hopefully by that point, and so I can spend the time in between to write the material.
To whom or what do you owe your discipline that you can do such a thing?
The fact that you have to come up with a piece of material every single day. And
but come on, you have had that.
If it wasn't for Imus, I would not be where I am today, and I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing today, because
that's an ironclad kind of thing, and you are on a schedule, and you have to come up with a fresh.
But you have this aptitude.
And fortunately, because having that challenge every day is what hopefully makes me better.
Well, I think you're selling yourself short, though. Obviously, you brought this talent to that job situation.
Well, talent is only, what is it, a producer once told me, is that a script is only good if I produce it. It's only worth something if I produce it. So, the same thing is true with talent. A talent is only good if somebody's going to do something with it. There are a lot of really talented people sitting in their mother's basements going, I could be a star. And, it's never going to happen. So.
No, that's true, though, but it's all of the great comedy writers. Well, you think of Neil Simon, Larry Gelbart, they were all on the Sid Caesar show. It's a bit like being on the Imus show, where you are expected to deliver a bit on a regular basis.
Yeah, and you have somebody who is, an icon. Thank you, Elaine Stritch.
Not a youth icon, but
no, an icon. No, you'd be. What are you, nuts? Are you ever going to go back on the show?
No, take that out.
Somebody who's been in the business at the stature that Don Imus has had for as long as he has, knows a thing or two about comedy, obviously. So it's like being in a master class, and I work with really talented people, and it's been a great experience, and when you're a writer, you really need to write every day, otherwise.
Yeah, it goes away. But I mean, I sometimes when I've been on the show, watch the show, Donald just criticize your routines right on the show. Does he look at them before, read them before? Or does he
sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't, and sometimes he just likes to poke the stick in the cage,
Hard to imagine a person on TV or radio being like that.
I don't know.
Or in print.
Wow. All right.
All right, Rob Bartlett, it's always great fun having you on. What are you going to do after How to Succeed? Is there a honeymoon in Vegas? I know you were.
I did a lab, they said, which was kind of like a workshop, except they don't have to pay if something happens with it.
Precisely.
Of Honeymoon in Vegas, which is just a terrific piece with Tony Danza, Andrew Bergman, who wrote and directed the movie, who also wrote The In-Laws, the single funniest movie ever made, hands down.
Zigzag, zigzag.
Yeah. Serpentine shell. Serpentine.
That's right.
And Jason Robert Brown wrote this incredible score of the most catchy songs. I mean, it's just, they're still in my head. So that's on the double boiler. We'll see how that
Fingers
works.
crossed.
We'll see.
Yeah.
It's show business. Who knows? I could be the guy with the bucket and the broom following the elephant.
No, wait, that's my
I
job.
wish you could tell that joke on the air, but you can't, I'm afraid.
Well, last time I got to say the F word, so.
You and Elaine Stritch, the only people who get that dispensation.
Thank you.
All right, Rob Bartlett, you can see him as Willy Whomper.
Wally
Whomper.
Willy
And you're a
Wonka.
theater
The
columnist?
chairman of the board.
Jeez.
And what's the other character?
Mr. Twimble.
Mr.
thank you.
Twimble.
Twimble Whomper. It's very simple.
Twimble Whomper in How to Succeed in Business. You can see him on the Imus in the Morning program every morning. And you got some stand-up stuff coming up?
Yeah, I'm actually going to be at the Lebanon Opera House in Lebanon, New Hampshire on April 21st. So.
I love Lebanon, New Hampshire.
Isn't it a great little town?
Fine town.
That's a great little theater, too.
Stay at the Renaissance.
I'll ask for the Susan Haskell suite.
Haskins, thank you.
No, because Eddie Haskell's sister was Susan Haskell.
That's right.
All right.
Whoa.
Rob Bartlett.
No bullying.
It's great when the guest
Whoa.
gets the host's name wrong. It's just Michael Reidel and Susan Haskell.
Thank you.
Shoot me.
Great to see you, Rob.
Thanks.
Good luck.
Oh, aren't you proud to be in that fraternity, the great big brotherhood of men,
Our thanks to the Friends of Theater Talk for their significant contribution to this production.
Theater Talk is made possible in part by the Frederick Lowe Foundation, the Eleanor Naylor Dana Charitable Trust, the Alan S. Gordon Foundation, the Corey and Bob Donnelly Charitable Fund, Carrie J. Fries, the Dorothy Strelson Foundation, the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, and the New York State Council on the Arts, a state agency.
We welcome your questions or comments for Theater Talk. Thank you and good night.